I went in this just wanting a little fun hee hee ha ha, this is so silly goofy time. But instead, I'm just reading 400 pages about a woman getting bullied. This is like really, really hurting me so sad deep in my heart right now, guys. Hey, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Kaylee, and this is a Read Rant Review, where, you guessed it, I read a bunch of crazy books, and then I tell you all about it. Today, we are going to be continuing our monthly deep dive into a Freida McFadden book. This month, we're going to be talking about The COWORKER. Currently on Goodreads, it's sitting at a 3.73 with a little over 600,000 ratings, originally published in 2023. And the book description says, 2 women, an office filled with secrets, one terrible crime that can't be taken back. Dawn Schiff is strange. At least everyone thinks so at Vixt, the nutritional company where Dawn works as an accountant. She never says the right thing, she has no friends, and she's always at her desk precisely at 8:45 a.m. So when Dawn doesn't show up to the office one morning, her coworker, Natalie, beautiful, popular, top sales rep 5 years running, is surprised. Then she receives an unsettling, anonymous phone call that changes everything. It turns out Dawn wasn't just an awkward outsider, she was being targeted by someone close. And now Natalie is irrevocably tied to Dawn as she finds herself caught in a twisted game of cat and mouse that leaves her wondering, who's the real victim? But one thing is incredibly clear. Somebody hated Dawn Schiff enough to kill. So yeah, this is this is The COWORKER by Freida McFadden, as I call her in my head. Yeah, this is probably like, oh my God, we must be coming up on like the 8th book of hers that I've covered. I really need to make a bingo card. Things that I'm anticipating. Oh, and hey, by the way, if it wasn't clear, not a fan. There's purpose, there's value. I understand why people like her books. I get it. Anytime I start to read it, I read it in one sitting. It's a train wreck that you can't look away from. She tells fascinating stories, don't get me wrong. It's not any like type of like literary masterpiece, and often it's very formulaic, if not complete ripoffs of other things. I think she has the same 5 topics and ideas and like puts them in on some dice and like shakes them up and spits out a new story, but it's the same things every single time, right? A little bit different enough to talk about and like crack jokes about, but you know what I'm saying? Don't make it weird, okay? I'm here to have fun. I'm here to crack some jokes, tell you all about this. We'll be doing a beat by beat, chapter by chapter breakdown of this book. Do not continue this video if you're the author or friends, fans, family, stans, anything of that nature. Don't leave weird comments about it. I don't give a shit, okay? I'm just gonna block you. You're just wasting your own breath, okay? So anyway, like I was saying, I need to make a Freida McFadden bingo card, because we're inevitably gonna have multiple timelines. We're gonna have a current day character and a past character that have different names, but turns out it's actually the same person. And there's going to be some type of pity or like justified killing of somebody where it's like girl bossification of murder, inevitably, that doesn't make any sense. There's going to be some ableism, if not just like downright horrific commentary in regards to people, really of anything. I mean, we're going to check all the boxes in some type of way of treating people horribly or talking about a group of people in a negative way or representing them in a horrible way. And yeah, I can't think of anything else. Like I said, I really do need to make a bingo card though. So I'll find that. We'll do that eventually. In terms of content or trigger warnings, before we dive right in, let me go to her website where she has all of these things listed. Murder, bullying, and ending one's own life. That's all we got. It's pretty accurate. Her books don't get like too terribly graphic, like I said, other than like the blatant ableism or like misconstruing of medical information or anything like that, and like completely misunderstanding psychology oftentimes. I don't know, dude. Don't look at me that way. If you know, you know. And if you don't, you'll find out real freaking quick, okay? So let's cut to the chase. This book is, like I said, 362 pages long. It has 61 chapters, good God, and an epilogue. And it is broken up into 2 parts. Okay. And then just to be uber duper, uber upfront with you guys, I'm 14 chapters in, and I said, oh no, I have some predictions. I want to film my live reaction as I figure it out with you guys. So we're going in blind, basically. We're going in like a third, 2/3 of the way blind. And there are quite a few characters, so if you are new to the channel, hey, thanks for hanging out. I usually put a list up on the screen, like a running list of characters, just in case you are like me and get all jumbled up with all these people and things happening. So there will be a list up on screen if it is needed. And speaking of shout outs, just really super quick. If you are listening to this over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, thank you so much for hanging out and listening over there. Please continue to rate and leave comments and whatnot on the podcast on those platforms. It's super greatly appreciated. And if you didn't know, now you do. I upload these videos and audio files over there if you ever want to check it out or if that's easier for you. And then, of course, big shout out and love to all of the book besties and patron members and Bindery folks and everything like that. I'm all over the place, and everywhere I go, you guys just continue to show love, and I'm so incredibly grateful. So, yes, so name list up here. Got it? Cool. So in the prologue, it opens up with Dawn that we had mentioned, and blanket statement from the top. It is very obvious that she is autistic, and it is like... You'll understand. I just want you to know that I know that that's what's happening, okay? So she's sending emails to her boss, Seth, who is obviously the guy at the company, at this nutrition company, and she is sending him these emails back and forth repeatedly of like, hey, we need to talk. Hey, I have this like really sensitive matter has come to my attention and I need to discuss it with you urgently. And he's very clearly dismissive of her. And this is the one day earlier. So then our book opens in part 1, chapter 1, present day, from Natalie's perspective. Like we learned, she is 30 years old. She's working at the supplement company. She is the mean girl, but I don't think it's an intentionally mean. I think well, no, maybe it is intentional. She's just like the mean girl, hot blonde, super ultra, everybody loves her, bubbly personality, but she's actually kind of dumb and also kind of malicious, but I don't know if it's malicious on purpose or if she's just selfish and inherently dumb and so her actions hurt other people. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I genuinely, at this point in the part of the book that I've gotten to, I can't tell if this is on purpose or if like, I don't know. I don't know what kind of character, but that's like the summaries of the vibes that I have received so far from her. And this is obviously very apparent when she begins describing Dawn, right? Because they have their desks, their little cubicles are right next to each other. And when Natalie arrives, Dawn's not there. And that's really weird because she goes on this whole spiel about how you could set a clock. If all of the clocks in the world went down, we could set the new ones to Dawn's schedule because she goes pee every single day at exactly 10:55 a.m. And she goes to lunch at exactly blah, blah, and then pee again at blah, blah. And it's, like I said, it's like inherently catty and just kind of shitty the way she talks about her. From the jump, I was just like, ugh. I don't like that. But Dawn's not there. Her coworker is missing. She is concerned about this, though, because she is such a, oh no, we just started the video. I can't do this. I can't do this already. What's the word? It's not consistent. It's not accountable. It's not persistent. She's just like always there. And she is it's not trustworthy. Oh no. We are 5 minutes into this video. The word is punctual. Dawn is so punctual that not seeing her is pretty alarming, but she's like, okay, I'll give it until like 9 o'clock or so until I call somebody, or you know what I mean? Like I'll wait another hour before I get really concerned. And then Natalie's friend Kim comes into the room. She's just back from her honeymoon, so they have a little bit of catch up. And then she brings it up to Kim about Dawn not being at work and how she's worried about her. And Kim says, Dawn's a freaking weirdo anyway who's obsessed with turtles. Why do you care? And Natalie says, hey, dude, she's actually like not that bad if you just get to know her. And they have this whole back and forth, and then they go on to talk about Natalie's 5K that she's in charge of coordinating that's coming up this Saturday, and it's a charity 5K raising money for cerebral palsy. It'll come up later, but her childhood best friend had cerebral palsy, and so she's raising money for that. That has been like a core tenet of her being, is like wanting to support this charity run. Eventually, Natalie goes back to her desk and she sees this weird turtle figurine that was not on her desk yesterday. And she goes and picks it up. Oh, wait, hold on. Before this, when talking to Kim about Dawn, there's also a moment that comes up. There's something that I haven't shared with Kim. Yesterday afternoon, Dawn sent me an odd email asking if I could talk to her at the end of the workday about a matter of great importance. But I was out on a sales call most of the afternoon, and when I got back to the office, she was already gone. A matter of great importance. I wonder if it was about ... No, probably not. And my note says, I'm going to hit something. This is not how people think. This is what I don't ever understand. And I go on this rant every single time that I read one of these books by this author. This is not how people think. If this is how you want to tell a story, tell it from a different perspective. Don't make this first person in her head and then like censor out her own thoughts, because that's not how that works. That's weird and misleading to your audience. Tell it from a different perspective. Our chapter ends with, a while back, speaking of turtles, Dawn excitedly presented me with a turtle figurine for my cubicle. It was so sweet of her, I felt terrible when the turtle she brought me toppled to the linoleum floor and shattered into a dozen tiny pieces. But that turtle was never replaced, and it was different from this turtle that's on my desk right now, because after this whole talk with Kim and back and forth and talking about the 5K, she finally decides to get back to work. She's wasted so much time this morning. Goes back to her desk, finds this really weird turtle figurine on her desk that was not there when she left yesterday. I pick up the turtle figurine and roll it between my fingers, feeling the smooth surface. What is this turtle doing here? Who put it here? Was it Dawn? But it couldn't be. When I got back to the office yesterday at the end of the day, she was already gone, and she doesn't seem to have been here yet. So how could she have put this turtle on my desk? When I rest the turtle back on my desk, say desk one more time, I freaking dare you. There's a stain on my fingers, something dark red rubbed off on my hand when I picked up the turtle. I stared down at my palm, trying to figure out what I had just touched. It can't be paint since the turtle's green. Is it ketchup? No, it couldn't be. It's too dark in color and not sticky with sugar. And it doesn't have that sweet smell. It smells almost metallic. What is this stuff? My note says, I have tears in my eyes, parentheses, derogatory. So then all of a sudden, Dawn's phone rings, right? The desk on Dawn's desk. Hello? The phone on Dawn's desk rings. So Natalie goes and picks it up because she's like, oh, maybe it's Dawn. Hello? Help me. Says, help me. She says, hello? Is anyone there? More silence. Just when I'm about to hang up, 2 words are spoken in a tortured female voice that send an icy chill down my spine. Help me. And then the line goes dead. Sorry, this is serious. This is serious and this is super scary, guys. Dial in, lock in. This is spooky. And so she's like, oh my God, that voice, it sounded so much like Dawn, although I can't be absolutely sure from just 2 words, but whoever it was, they sounded hysterical, panicked, help me, and then the line went dead, which is now turned into dial tone. So then she decides, okay, well, that was really weird, and now I am genuinely concerned. Let me go talk to Seth, our boss, and tell him that Dawn's not here yet and that I'm worried. And she goes in here and talks to him, but of course, as she does so, she cannot help but notice, and 2,700 other people also noticed, the wedding band he always wears on his left 4th finger is gone. Why wouldn't you just say ring finger? Recently gone. There's a visible tan line. My eyes stray to the photograph he always keeps on his desk of him and his wife Melinda, but that's gone too. You're here about your missing coworker and you're clocking that your boss is having marital problems? That's kind of weird. And why would 2,600 people highlight that? Probably because it's kind of weird, and spoiler alert, everybody highlights everything that just leads to spoilers. Like I said, to the point that I'm in the story, I don't know anything yet, but I'm going to assume that she is somehow having an affair with her boss, but doesn't think about it in any way because, again, God forbid Freida McFadden ever tell a genuine story from first-person POV. Chapter 3 is from 9 months earlier. My note says, Freida writing a book with one timeline challenge, impossible. And this is an email that Dawn is sending to her friend Mia. And it's her telling her friend about her first day at, I almost said Vice. Where do they work? Vixen? What kind of name of a company is that? Vixt. Oh, Vixt. That makes a lot more sense. Does it? She's telling her friend about her first day at work and how it went pretty smooth and how she wore her turtle shell glasses because she channels turtles and she loves turtles because they can hide in their shell. And she can't really do that at work, so she at least has these glasses to help her try to cope with the workday. But luckily, she didn't really need it because her coworkers are pretty nice. Like, Seth was kind of weird. He was cool during the interview and now he's really standoffish. But I met a coworker named Natalie who's really, really nice and she greeted me and I'm very, very excited to hopefully make a friend. She also notes in this email that it's very obvious that the boss, Seth, likes Natalie and that there must be something going on there, but she doesn't really know because it's weird because he's married. And then her friend Mia responds, very supportive, right? Her email back is very, very short, acknowledging and supportive of what's happening. We go into chapter 4. We're back into present day from Natalie's perspective. She takes a call. Natalie sells nutrition supplements too. And she's really bougie and they talk a lot and they put on this whole hee hee ha ha, oh my God, why can't I think of words? Customer service voice. And we get to unpack the idea of customer service voices. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why this is such a big deal that it comes up so often. Hopefully this comes back and makes sense later in the book that I haven't gotten to yet. It doesn't matter. It genuinely doesn't come up a single other time. Then we also learned that Natalie has a boyfriend. His name is Caleb, and he started working part-time as the IT guy at Vixt. 4,000 people highlighted. But in the last almost 2 months, I have discovered a lot of other qualities about Caleb that I adore. Besides his dazzling smile, he's a hard worker, a whiz at computers, funny as hell, and most importantly, he's a good guy. Whatever else you can fake, it's hard to fake being a genuinely kind person. It's also exceedingly rare. So I don't know if this is insinuating that she's not a kind person or that he's going to betray her and he's not a kind person. I feel like it needs to be psychoanalyzed of the people that highlight stuff in these books. Genuinely so curious. And then the chapter ends with her going on a podcast talking about the 5K run that she's hosting. And she's hosting it because my best friend growing up had palsy. She struggled with it a lot. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us. So this is in Amelia's honor. And the podcast host says, "Oh my, I can hear how much you must miss her. I'm sure she's looking down on you, grateful for what a good friend you were and still continue to be." And she says, "Yeah, I hope so." I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Natalie continues about her day, and then she texts Seth because Seth told her to not worry about Dawn. He was like, I have a 2 o'clock with her. She'll show up to that. You know how she is. Maybe she just had something come up this morning. Don't fret. And so it's past 2 o'clock. And so Natalie texts Seth and asks if Dawn showed up to the meeting. She didn't. And so Natalie remembers that she had to drop off Dawn at her house a couple of months ago, and she kind of vaguely remembers where she lives. So she goes driving around. She just wants to go do a little wellness check, welfare check, whatever it's called, to see how she is. She knocks on the door. There's no answer. And she doesn't hear anything inside. And so she walks around to the back, and the back door is unlocked. She goes inside the back door. Dude, this is going to piss me off. Hold on, let me read this verbatim to you. She's going through the house. The kitchen itself seems normal, but there's something else disturbing about it. There's a bottle of wine on the counter, red wine, filled about halfway, still uncorked. There's also a wine glass on the counter with a residue of red liquid at the bottom of the glass. And then there's a second glass, except this one is shattered on the floor. I may not be Dawn's best friend, but I know her well enough to know that she wouldn't leave a bottle of wine uncorked on her kitchen counter. And she definitely wouldn't leave broken glass on the floor. I was right. Something terrible has happened here. So my note, I was like, so it's not normal. Your opening line was that the kitchen seems normal. Okay, that's fine. So she continues walking around. But after seeing this and the glass and everything, she grabs a knife out of the knife block because she's like, well, if there's an intruder, then like I need to defend myself. She grabs a knife and she continues walking around, and she's gets to the living room and she sees this bookshelf, right? Something about that bookcase makes my skin crawl because it's covered with turtles. There's like literally turtle figurines everywhere in this house. And she even has like a little thing with a turtle in it, okay? Like turtle, okay? How many times is turtle said in this book? That's a wonderful question. I'm so glad you asked. 200. Okay? So, something about that bookcase makes my skin crawl. I take a step back, but I nearly trip over an unfortunately placed ottoman. I look down. The ottoman, and ottoman is capitalized the second time that it's used. Obviously, there's like the Ottoman Empire, but I'm like, is there any other reason that ottoman would be capitalized? Is that a brand name? I don't. But then you didn't. Okay, that's fine. The ottoman has been overturned, but I didn't knock it over. It was toppled over like that already. And you didn't see it. That's when I noticed the chair overturned, lying on the floor. I creep closer, squinting into the darkness. And then I see what's on the carpet and I scream. And then we go into chapter 6 from 8 months earlier. And Natalie has sent out a email to all of the Vixed employees to have a welcome party for Dawn. Again, very, very sweet. And Dawn goes on to write an email to her friend Mia. And she's saying, oh my God, this was so sweet. Natalie was so nice. You know, the last birthday that I've ever had was when I was 5 years old. You know, do you remember, you know, blah, 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 childhood memories that again are just like indicative of Dawn having autism to some degree, right? She also goes on to talk about how her boss has continued to ignore her suggestions on having a cleaning schedule, even though she told him about all of the germs that happen if you don't clean the refrigerators as often as you should. And also, she complimented Natalie on something because her mom told her that complimenting people and flattery is how you make friends. And so, yeah, you know, Mia, when I wanted to be friends with Natalie, I complimented something about her, and she complimented my turtle that I had, or figurine or shirt or something on her. She had a turtle on. She complimented my turtle, and so then I asked if she liked turtles, and she said yes, and then I told her and her friend Kim all about them. They let me talk to them for 20 minutes about all of these turtles. It really hurts my heart to read this type of stuff, okay? Oh, it was a turtle mug. It just is really sad. Because obviously Natalie and Kim are going to be very mean about this after this, and they don't let her eat lunch with them anymore. Okay? This made me so just like sad. Chapter 7. We're back in present day with Natalie. She called the police after finding a lot of blood on Dawn's living room floor. Blood that it's like she cannot be okay after that amount of blood that I found. Called the cops, and then I called Seth to let him know what's going on and that I wouldn't be back at work. He sounded rattled, but that's nothing compared to how I feel. I usually tell Kim everything, but I didn't want to tell her about this. She would just treat it like interesting gossip, which would be disrespectful. So instead, I text Caleb. He'll say the right thing. I know it. Sure enough, I get a text back right away. Holy crap, are you okay? Not really. I'll be reliving what I saw in that living room until the day I die. All that blood. Do you want me to come over? And she says no because she doesn't want to be like a clingy girlfriend or something. And she's like trying to be cool about it. And then there's a Natalie, not a Natalie. Hello? There's a detective. The detective comes out and talks to her because they had her wait outside. She asks if they found her. The detective says no. He says, you know, so you and Miss Schiff, you guys were friends, right? Yes, we were coworkers and friends. Close friends? Sort of. It's not true, but Dawn didn't really have any friends, so I would believe it if somebody told me I was her closest friend. Oh my God. And also, you don't know her outside of work. You have no idea if she had friends or not. That's like such a bitchy thing to say. The detective says, okay, well, you know, does she have a boyfriend? And I want to laugh and say, like, of course Dawn doesn't have a boyfriend, but I would never say any of that to the detective. No, she didn't have a boyfriend. Detective Santoro gives me a funny look. It takes me a second to realize why. I mean, she doesn't have a boyfriend. Oh God, I just referred to her in the past tense. And she does this like 10 times, by the way, referring to Dawn in the past tense. Girl, Dawn is going to be okay. They're going to find her. She'll be fine. No past tense, present tense, all the way. Who are you? Are you trying to convince me? What do you mean? Detective asks where she was last night, and she says, I was with my boyfriend Caleb. I was with him all night. Even though this is a lie. She was only with Caleb until 9:30 p.m., okay? She just lies on a whim, on a cuff, because she wants to have an alibi. What do you need an alibi for? What do you mean? Detective says, okay, well, does your boyfriend Caleb, does he know Dawn? I lift a shoulder. A little. He's been doing some part-time work for a company we work for, so he knows her, but barely. Okay, interesting. So then the detective lets her leave. She immediately calls her boyfriend Caleb and says, hey, Dawn's missing, all this stuff is happening, and also I lied and said that I was with you all last night. So if he asks you, can you just say this? Can you just go along with it? He's like, but you lied. She's like, yeah, I know. It was just like a little thing though. Can you just say that? Can you, like, you were with me? And he's a little put off by it, but he agrees. He's like, okay, I guess. You don't know her. Y'all only been together for less than 2 months. Don't do that. This hurts me. This again hurts me so bad. Because then we go into chapter 8. 7 months earlier, Dawn's email to her friend Mia, and talking about all this stuff, how she contacted an Etsy seller because she bought a turtle figurine, and the Etsy seller sent her a land turtle and not a sea turtle. And so then she goes on to tell the Etsy seller what the difference is between them and why they're wrong, and that this was like incorrect, and try to teach them. But then the Etsy seller thought that she was joking or like trolling or something, but she definitely wasn't. This is a real problem, and it's really frustrating to her. And I'm like, I don't know. This all feels so icky. It all feels so icky in a way that, like, I can't tell you why. I just don't like reading it, and it just makes me sad. And so to her friend Mia, she writes this email talking about how she had bought this expensive turtle figurine for Natalie. And Natalie was really, really surprised by the gift and did not thank her. And then she goes on to say how she asked if she could join Kim and Natalie for lunch. And they said no, because they had wedding planning and they were just trying to like get her to not hang out with them. And so I'll just read it to you, okay? And you'll understand. They've been talking nonstop about the wedding planning. I overheard that wedding is at the end of September, which Natalie said was perfect. I didn't understand how Natalie could help so much since she's never been married before, though. I pointed out that inconsistency to Natalie, and her lips pressed tight together when I asked the question so that her lipstick was nearly invisible. You don't have to be a bride to know how to plan a wedding. I've helped a lot of friends with their weddings, and when I get married, they'll help me. If you get married, I corrected her. She looked surprised when I said that. I always have to remind myself that Natalie is not an accountant like I am. She isn't facile. Guys, come on. Facile? She isn't facile with numbers. By her own admission, this was a great opportunity to educate her and earn her friendship. I explained in detail how the older you get, the chances of getting married decrease significantly. Because as more people in your own age group get married, the dating pool decreases, so your odds of finding somebody suitable to marry continue to go down. Of course, you could still marry somebody significantly younger, but most women, on average, seek men who are their own age or older. And of course, most men are seeking women younger than they are. So given her current single status, Natalie is likely to never get married. This obviously does not go very well. That is not something that Natalie would want to hear. Dawn doesn't know that, right? Dawn doesn't really can't, and to her own admission and acknowledgments or whatever, pick up on social cues very well. And kind of like know what is appropriate and not appropriate to say to people, okay? Oh, I think I've talked about this in like other videos and stuff, but like my secondhand like embarrassment, like my empathy for people is like so bad, so high. Like I can't watch certain TV shows. Like I can't watch The Office because Michael Scott does stuff that's like cringy enough that like I want to crawl out of my own skin. And I think that's what's happening in a lot of this, where I'm just like, oh, baby, like you don't understand like that they're talking bad about you right now, or that was like not good. And like, it just sucks. This just like really, really sucks. And nobody's helping her. Her friend Mia isn't helping her. Nobody's like understanding any of this and like adjusting or acknowledging it or like doing anything to help it at all. And it just like is really hard. And it just like continue to watch this just go downhill. And I just feel like I'm watching a train wreck, and it's so sad. Editing Kaylee also. I'm not calling Dawn, cringe. Obviously, I'm not saying anything bad about her, but the people around her either need to be, I don't know, not pricks and be accepting of like, oh, like this is who she is as a person, adjust, don't be mean to your fellow human beings, or also provide maybe some feedback or some like, hey, this is why this wasn't cool. Like, this is why what you said was like inappropriate or it hurt somebody's feelings, and just talking to somebody and like leveling with them about what's going on. And that's not what's happening. It's a bunch of mean girl, gossipy BS. And they're like isolating her and making fun of her. And it's Dawn isn't cringe. It's the making fun of her and the way that she's getting treated is what is making me so uncomfortable. And I just want to be clear that that's what I'm saying is bad in this scenario. Not Dawn, not her actions, not what she's saying, but the way that she's being treated and the way that everybody is like reacting to her is what is hurting me so badly. Not her herself. Okay? She just wants a friend so bad. Chapter 9, present day, Natalie. Her mother calls her, talking to her about somebody going missing at her job and making sure that she's safe and stuff, and then talks crap about her not having a husband yet and how she needs a husband to take care of her. She gets a call from a blocked number, and it reminds her of that time when she used to regularly receive threatening calls. Yeah, totally. I'll read it verbatim to you. I pulled the phone away from my ear to disconnect the call, my heart pounding in my chest. I used to get calls like that all the time, sometimes with just silence, but sometimes with a string of threats on the other line. But I haven't gotten a call like that since, well, it's been several months. I doubt that it's the same person. They have no reason to hate me anymore. No one thinks like this. This doesn't make sense narratively to be talking this way. And so her boyfriend, Caleb, texts her, asks if she gets home okay. She says, I'm fine. Thanks for checking. I drop my keys on the table next to the front door and then plop down on the on the leather sofa in my living room. I need to chill out. What happened to Dawn is horrible, but it has nothing to do with me. Nobody's out to get me. So clearly somebody is out to get her, right? And so she like goes to sleep and she wakes up and she's like, okay, well, hopefully like on the news, they found Dawn and she's just been, you know what I mean? She's just like hanging out somewhere. Not the case. It's on the news that she is still missing. And Natalie goes to work, and the turtle figurine that was on her desk that she had put down, it was kind of freaking her out. So she put it in the corner of her desk. But when she comes back in the following morning, it's back in the front of her desk. And she's like, those dang janitors, they must have moved it. And so she throws it away into the trash can, and she gets called to Seth's office. Seth tells her that the Detective Santoro, the guy that interviewed her at Dawn's house the day before, he's coming to the office to do some interviews, and he asked explicitly to talk to Natalie. Okay. And then he catches her looking at the spot on his desk where the photo of him and his wife used to be, and realizes that it's not there, and he realizes that she realizes that it's not there, and he says, yeah, I separated from my wife. Are you still with Caleb? She says, yeah. And then he says, okay, bye. Okay. Okay. Chapter 12. 6 months earlier, Dawn is sending multiple follow-up emails to Seth about this cleaning schedule thing for the fridge and how unhealthy it is and how they need to make sure that they're on this like rotation to clean it. And then also talking about telling Mia how there was a meeting recently where Seth was saying that the company isn't doing very well and they need to save money. That Natalie is like the top sales performer and she's the only one doing really, really well and meeting quotas, and we need to save money. And so all these people are throwing out all of these ideas, but Dawn has been doing some numbers. You know, she's an accountant. She's been looking at some stuff, and she found out that Natalie takes clients out for lunch and spends a lot of money, like $10,000 a month. Is that what this is described as? Some crazy amount of money a month. And so she's like, yeah, like literally more than half of our expenses budget is on these lunches that she's going to. So if she just stops doing that, then we'll be great. And Natalie defends it, and she's like, it's a long-term investment. Dawn says, no, it's not. On average, they only buy like one case afterward, and that's not enough. You'd have to spend blah, blah, blah to recoup the costs. Not great. Natalie's not happy about this. Seth is pretty dismissive about this. And then the email ends with Dawn talking to Mia about how her parents always wanted her to be normal, and also how she recently bought a turtle figurine that's like the size of a basketball, and that if anybody ever broke into her house, she would be able to use it as a weapon. I don't know. And Mia responds, promising to come and visit her. Like that Mia and her husband will come and visit Dawn soon. I'm so proud of you for kicking butt in that meeting. George, her husband, is excited for you too. Don't let yourself get intimidated. You are way better than that. And don't worry, I will be there to visit you before you know it. Let me check my calendar and get back to you on some potential dates. XXO Mia. Interesting. Chapter 13. We're back in present day, and Natalie gets taken to one of the conference rooms to talk to Detective Santoro and be questioned. Things aren't looking so good for our girl Natalie, because he's got some more information. Mostly the fact, he's like, hey, so you said you got a phone call, you answered the phone at Dawn's desk, and that's what made you think she was in danger? Yeah, somebody called and they said, help me. It's interesting, because we checked the phone records, and the phone call came from inside the building. They were all internal phone calls. So that's kind of weird. And she's like, okay, I'm not sure how that's possible. That's really weird. And before she can really process it, the detective goes on to say, also, we found your fingerprints on the knife at Dawn's house. She says, yeah, I picked it up in case there was an intruder. Okay, well, we found your fingerprints on a knife that was still in the knife block. Yeah, I picked up a couple of them to see which one would be the best to take with me for self-defense. Okay, so then why did we find your fingerprints on the wine glass on the counter at Dawn's house? And Natalie is like raking her brain. She's like, there's no way I would have touched that wine glass. That's so weird, but he's saying that I did, so I must have, right? Like, Yeah. I moved the wine glass because it was at the edge of the counter, and I moved it back so it wouldn't fall off like the other glass did and it wouldn't break. Okay. We checked the emails and stuff, and we saw that she had emailed you about wanting to talk urgently at the end of the day yesterday. What happened with that? Or the day before, whenever it was. I don't know. I never ran into her. Okay. Not looking good. We go into chapter 15, 6 months earlier. We are just meeting in the middle here. Dawn is sending multiple emails to Seth saying, hey, this is all the data that I have, that Natalie is spending so much money on these lunches. I really recommend cutting back on this. He doesn't answer. She follows up again. She always has to message him like 3 or 4 times before he acknowledges her. And he comes back and he says, hey, I'm not going to implement your suggestions. Natalie can do whatever she wants. Oh, okay. Got it. She has an email to her friend Mia talking about how one of her turtle mugs had fallen off of the edge and broke on the floor. And then Natalie had told her that she must have been careless enough to leave the mug on the edge of the shelf. And she's like, yeah, there was this one time when I had told Natalie that she needed to be careful with her own mugs, and I don't know, it was like really, really weird. Natalie, this is where I'm saying she's clearly being a beezy, you know what I mean? And also because Dawn is, I don't even want to talk about it. It's very clear Natalie broke her mug on purpose, right? And Dawn is picking it up, and she doesn't understand that Natalie did this on purpose. And so she's in this email to Mia, she's saying, but I suppose she was right. Obviously, my mug had fallen and broken, so somebody must have knocked it over. Next time, she said, you should try not to be so careless. With those words, she turned on her red heels and walked out of the break room. I picked up the pieces of my mug and stashed them in my purse to take home with me. I tried to put them back together tonight, but it just wasn't the same, and I ended up having to throw them away. I know it's impossible, but is there any way that you could let me know where you purchased the mug? I know it was years and years ago, but I feel lost without it, and I'm counting on you. Makes me want to cry so. Mia responds, Oh no, that's awful. I'm going to buy you another mug ASAP. My brother is visiting at the moment though, and he's dragging me to every tourist attraction. Maybe he can help me look for another mug. He sends his love, by the way. I know you always had a bit of a crush on him. Wink wink. XXO Mia. Dear Mia, I hardly remember your brother, and I assure you that I did not have any sort of romantic infatuation with him. But if you feel he would be of assistance in finding another turtle mug, feel free to take him with you. Sincerely, Dawn Schiff. Chapter 16, Natalie's perspective. She stays at work and she's just like keeping an eye on the conference room that the detective is set up in. Seth goes in there. He talks to Seth for a really long time. He even pulls Caleb in there for a little bit, which is really, really weird because it's not like Caleb and Dawn even know each other. They've never even really talked. I don't know why they would need to talk to the detective. And then afterward, Caleb comes over to her and assures her that he went along with her alibi, right? He agreed to the story that they spent the night together. And then she says, oh yeah, do you want to get dinner with me tonight? And he says no. And she feels like she has like ran him away and scared him off with all of her drama and neediness and whatever. I don't know. Don't look at me. Don't look at me like that. I don't know. She goes home. She gets another weird phone call from a blocked number that is totally silent when she picks it up. And she turns on her TV and Detective Santoro is on the screen and saying that we have not located Dawn Schiff, but we have identified a person of interest in her disappearance. We feel confident that we'll be able to find out what happened to Miss Schiff. Am I the person of interest? Would I know if I were the person of interest? Do they tell you stuff like that? I grab the remote and change the channel. It's Wheel of Fortune. Somebody's buying a foul. I pick up my phone from where I dropped it on the sofa next to me. I stare at the screen, which is black. The truth is, there's only one person I wanted to talk to right now. But I shouldn't. I really, really shouldn't. Then again, making stupid decisions is my specialty. Hey, could you come over? I send the text before I can overthink it. It's a mistake. I know it's a mistake. But, well, I've already done it. Barely 30 seconds later, a text appears on my screen. When? How about now? I watch the three bubbles hover on the screen. A few seconds later, a reply pops up. I'll be there in 15 minutes. What is happening right now? We are 33% of the way through the book, and I don't know a single thing that is happening right now. In chapter 18, 5 months earlier, now it's a different email exchange. Now it's between Seth and his wife talking about how he'll be home late from dinner, saying how he's swamped and really, really busy and he won't be home until 10 o'clock. And then she's like, okay, but will you be home on time tomorrow night? Like, do you promise? And he says, I promise. Ugh. And then we cut to an email that Dawn is sending to Mia again. And I'll just read you this one because this is some hot goss, okay? I love office drama. This is Dawn, remember, okay? I had the most terrifying experience this morning. When I got to my cubicle this morning at 8:45 a.m., there was already a woman standing in the middle of the small square space. She had on a black trench coat and her stringy brown hair was pulled into a bun that had come partially unraveled. Natalie sometimes wears messy buns, but hers are stylishly messy. This woman looks disheveled, like she slept in the street. The scariest thing was the glint in her eyes. I might not be skilled at reading facial expressions, but it was clear that this woman was furious. She looked so frightening that I took a step back. She accosted me and started asking all these questions about whose cubicle it was, and it sounded like she was looking for Natalie, so I pointed her in the right direction for Natalie's cubicle. Of course, it occurred to me right after that this woman might mean Natalie harm, and perhaps it was unwise to tell her where Natalie's cubicle was, but it was too late. The woman pushed past me, jostling my shoulder. I swiveled my head to watch her march into Natalie's small space, still unoccupied. The woman dug something out of her purse, and I studied her facial features. She looked familiar. I had seen this woman somewhere before, I was sure of it. Finally, the woman retrieved a folded sheet of paper from her purse. After a hesitation, she placed the paper on Natalie's desk and dropped the turtle figurine on top of it so it wouldn't fly away. Make sure Natalie gets that note, she instructed me. I nodded, afraid to refuse the woman, and just as she was marching off, I realized why she looked familiar. I recognized her from a photograph, the one on Seth's desk. She was Seth's wife. I looked around the office. Natalie was nowhere in sight. She rarely showed up before 9, so it would be a while before she came in and discovered the note from Seth's wife. I wondered what it said. I'm not the sort of person who usually snoops. I find it detestable, to be honest, but I thought it was important that I investigated what the note said. What if it said there was a bomb in the building? If I didn't look at the note, everyone might be killed. It would be irresponsible of me to not look at the note. I took one last peek around the corner to make sure that nobody was watching me, and then I slipped into Natalie's cubicle right next to mine. I took the note out from under the turtle and carefully unfolded it. The note was written in red ink. Scribbled, really. The handwriting was messy, but large enough that it was easy to read what it said. If you touch my husband again, I will kill you. I stood there for a moment, reading and rereading the message. The message was written by Seth's wife. That means her husband was Seth. So she was telling Natalie that if she touched Seth, she would kill her. No, actually, she said that if Natalie touched Seth again, she would kill her. I was still working it all out when I felt a searing gaze boring into me. I ripped my eyes away from the note. Natalie was standing at the entrance to her cubicle, her arms folded across her chest. I could tell by the way the corners of her lips were turning down that she was not happy with me. I was so embarrassed that she caught me. You know I don't usually snoop, but after something like that, well, I couldn't help myself. I started stammering out an apology, explaining my concerns about a possible bomb threat, but even to my own ears it sounded incredibly inadequate. I should not have read the note. It was an inexcusable invasion of her privacy. Thankfully, Natalie didn't press the issue further. She plucked the note out of my hands, and I watched the way the color drained from her face as she read those 10 words. Shit, she muttered under her breath, which seemed like a very reasonable response given the circumstances. But at least now her ire was directed at the other woman and not me. I figured this was a good opportunity to make up for my transgression, so I asked if there was anything I could do. You can mind your own damn business from now on, okay? Was what she said. I told her I would, but she kept pressing me. She said I couldn't tell another soul about this, and if I did, she would really make sure that I was sorry. Really and truly. I was so freaked out. I took a step back and bumped into her desk. My fingers knocked into the turtle figurine and it went toppling to the floor, much like my mug. It shattered into several pieces. And then blah, blah, blah. It's so much more that I don't want to keep reading to you because I'm probably at my limit. But she's realizing like, oh, I guess this is why Seth didn't want to hear my thing about telling Natalie to not get lunches and stuff. Like, this is why he always defends her. And I was right. He did like her. I could tell by the way that he looked at her. But after thinking about it all day, I don't feel too bad about the whole thing. I had been upset that Seth didn't like my idea, but it turns out his rejecting the idea had nothing to do with whether he liked it or not. And now Natalie and I share a secret. Maybe we can be friends after all. And then this is highlighted by 5,000 people. After all, there's nothing that binds two people together like a shared secret. So, okay, 5,000 people. What are we sharing? What are we hiding from each other, right? Also, Seth's wife is named Melinda. Do we think Mia is Melinda? Do we think Melinda is the childhood friend with cerebral palsy? Is Mia the childhood friend with cerebral palsy? Who's Carmen? You know what I'm saying? Like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? What are we doing? What is the... I'm so upset. I'm so upset. So with that, in chapter 19, you can guess Natalie had texted Seth to come over to her house. She texted her affair partner boss to come to her house. Obviously, their affair ended after they got caught, and his wife had threatened Natalie, and I guess that was the phone calls that she was receiving, the mysterious threatening phone calls that was like briefly mentioned earlier. Not sure, whatever. I don't even care. Chapter 20, 4 months earlier, really nasty, stuck-up girl talk between Natalie and Kim talking about Dawn. And I don't even want to tell you a summary of it. It's just like really fucked up. And then Natalie gets an email from a customer saying that they bought all this like health product from Natalie and they were taking double the dose when they started seeing side effects because that's what Natalie told them to do. But now, you know, her eyesight is failing and her hair's falling out and she's dizzy all the time and her skin burns and her doctor says that it's because of this nutrient and she says like, Natalie, I'm going to sue you for this. Uh-oh. And then Dawn is emailing her friend Mia and saying how she had picked up the phone, like Natalie's phone, because it was ringing and she picked it up and the customer was complaining about how this nutrient supplement that she had been taking had all of these other negative side effects. And so Dawn tells Natalie this. She's like, hey, this lady called and she said this about the product. Natalie's like, that's not true. That there's no way that happens because I take the pills and like that lady's just being crazy. And she's like uber dismissive of it. And then Kim and Natalie crack jokes to Dawn's face about her and whether or not she has ever been intimate with somebody. And Dawn relays this to Mia, and then she goes on to also say that she never has. Like, she's never been intimate with anybody. And how she hasn't even ever had a boyfriend and never even been on a date that wasn't sprung on me by my mother without my knowledge or consent, and none of those have led to second dates. Truth is, I haven't even kissed a boy. And then she goes on to recollect some childhood stuff that she had with that. Not great. And then ends the email talking about Natalie and Kim yet again, and how even when Natalie is like mad at her, it's still, I don't know what it is about her, but whenever she pays me attention, it always makes me feel special and I crave it. Natalie brushed past me out of the break room, leaving behind the faint flowery scent of her perfume, and despite everything, I still love her perfume. I wonder if I could find a bottle of it. Do you think if I started wearing the same scent, she might like me better? Oh. Mia responds, OMG, do not buy perfume to impress that woman. She is not worth your time. Stay away from her. I repeat, stay far away from Natalie. And there's like exclamation points after every single one of those sentences. Also, I'm sad that you felt you couldn't tell me your feelings about your love life. Dawn, you are a wonderful person. I'm 100% sure that someday there is going to be a man who will understand how completely amazing and intelligent and beautiful you are. And every day he is going to thank his lucky stars just for being with you. I promise you, you will find someone who feels that way. I hope you believe me. XXO, Mia. Chapter 21, present day. Natalie takes a look outside of her house and sees Detective Santoro waiting for her. Detective Santoro has some follow-up questions, mostly of like, hey, did you ever bully Dawn? Did you ever happen to send an email talking about how if she ever did have intimate relations, it would have been with a turtle? Yeah, that's what I didn't want to say earlier, but it's come back around. And she's like, yeah, I might have joked about it. And he's like, okay, well, a lot of people from work have said that you've gone out of your way to exclude Dawn from social events, and that like you've gone as far as bullying her. So not looking very good for you. And she's like, I never bullied her. I mean, Dawn was strange. People didn't like her, but I tried to be nice to her. Okay. I made a couple of jokes about her behind her back, but so did everyone. Santoro gives me a look that makes me think he doesn't believe one word I'm saying. Just because Dawn was different, you didn't have to be cruel to her. I wasn't. Ask my boss, Seth Hoffman. He'll tell you I was nice to her. Santoro's eyebrows shoot up to his hairline. Seth Hoffman? You mean your married boss who you were sleeping with? Okay, now I feel like I'm about to keel over from a heart attack. How does he know about that? I get that he's a detective, but it seems out of the scope of the investigation into the disappearance of a completely unrelated person. Did Seth tell you that? No, he only said nice things about you. So who told you I was sleeping with him? He hesitates a split second. Dawn wrote about it to a friend in the emails we found in her computer. Oh, God. Yes, Dawn knew about me and Seth. It wasn't like I confided in her. She happened to witness Seth's wife leaving me a threatening note. And I'm like, hey, bitch, we just found this out. I don't need a summary of it. You know what I'm saying? I don't need a summary of that. We literally just read the letter. Give me one thing or give me the other. I don't need both of these back to back of like, I don't need a recap. We just talked about this. I didn't even realize she had any friends to blab to, and it makes me wonder what else she wrote about me. But what's the difference? So what if Dawn wrote a few things about me in a couple of stupid emails? She certainly had a unique view of the world, and it doesn't mean anything that she said was true. None of this is real evidence of anything. This is harassment, detective. I grit my teeth. I've got to go to work, and we don't even know if anything really bad happened to Dawn. She probably just took off on a trip without telling anyone. A deep crease forms between his eyebrows. No, she didn't. Well, how do you know? Because we found Dawn's body early this morning. I did not see that coming. Did you? I don't think they really did find her body, but maybe they did. I don't know. I wasn't expecting that, though. My legs almost give out from under me, and she's like, she's dead? What happened to her? She was beaten to death with a blunt object. She died of head trauma. Good God. And then he's saying that he thinks that it was her. And she's like, but I had an alibi. I was with my boyfriend. And he's like, yeah, unless you guys killed her together. And then she's like, I have to go to work, detective. So if you don't have any other questions, I really need to go. He says, okay, we'll talk more later. I hope you find whoever did this to Dawn. Believe me, Miss Farrell, that's her last name, Farrell, we will. Okay. In chapter 23, we're 42% of the way through the book. I feel like we have slowed down progress significantly. I hope this picks the F back up. 4 months ago, email from Dawn to Mia talking about how Natalie has intentionally given her wrong information about meetings. So she has showed up late to things. And this is going back to that whole idea of like excluding her from social events and stuff. Like Natalie's just been being a craphead to her, which is crazy because you would think, I don't know, the woman who knows about your affair, you probably wouldn't want to piss her off. Maybe? I don't know. Also, whatever. Anyway, chapter 24, present day, Natalie's perspective. She hears the news reports about Dawn's body being found in the woods. And when Natalie gets to work, that turtle figurine, the one that kept moving, that supposedly had blood on it or something, maybe possibly, that she threw away, it's back on her desk. It's back on her desk. And so then she picks it up and she puts it in the break room trash can, and she's starting to get a little spooked by this, but mostly just frustrated. And then she gets a call from a health store owner who had bought supplements from her, and he's talking about how he's getting a bunch of customer complaints about these items. And she's like, well, I sold it to you in a whatever way, you can't return it. And he gets all pissed off and he's calling her a liar and drama, drama, drama. Her whole life is falling apart. In chapter 25, she confronts Kim and she's like, what did you say to the detective? And Kim's like, I told the truth that you bullied Dawn. And Natalie says, hold on, this crazy lady, you unreliable narrator lady. And that's what I mean of like, you can't be, I don't know. I guess if we're using the thing of unreliable narrators, I mean, I guess it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, so she's like, Kim, did you tell him I was bullying her? It's not that I blame you for bullying Dawn. You were bullying her, though. She's so strange. She was obsessed with those turtles. He was obsessed with turtles. Turtles are so boring. You know, it would have been better than turtles? Anything. I wasn't bullying her. I would never do that. You said that thing about how she lost her virginity to a turtle. Oh my God, that was a joke. It wasn't a big deal. Everyone made jokes like that about her. If I was bullying her, so were the rest of you. Whatever, Nat. Listen to me, Kim. You need to stop lying about me to the detective, okay? Because it makes me look really bad. I just told him what really happened. Oh, is that all you did? Well, maybe I should tell your new husband what really happened on the night of your bachelorette party. About that guy in the bar that you... Natalie, you promised you wouldn't tell anyone. And I won't. But you need to stop making me look bad, okay? This is a murder investigation now. It's not a joke. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't think it was a big deal. So you messed with Dawn a little bit. We all did. Right. We all did. I give Kim one last long look. I feel confident she's going to keep her mouth shut. She does not want her husband to know what she did that night. Lucky for me, I had the foresight to take a lot of photos the night of the bachelorette party. Unfortunately, I have worse problems than Kim. Chapter 26. I didn't even think about this. She's starting to feel attacked, obviously. She's like, the detective's coming after me, even though I'm like so innocent and everybody hates me now and this is so terrible and I don't know, stupid. And then also she's like, and oh my God, what if Caleb discovers that I was hooking up with Seth? Because I guess they did it again recently, or at least that night that she called and had him come over. And she's like, what if he finds out about this, that I cheated on him? Now, this isn't important, but just like to note, she has not slept with Caleb. I don't even think they've kissed or anything. They've been dating for 2 months and they've been taking it really, really slow. And she's been really grateful of it because he's like such a gentleman and he's been so kind to her and whatever. And they haven't hooked up. But she probably supposedly hooked up with her boss recently and she feels bad about it. So now she's going to invite him, Caleb, her boyfriend, to stay the night the next night. And he's really, really shocked about this. And he's like, your coworker just died. Why would I spend the night with you? And also, I can't believe you're still doing the charity run tomorrow. Your coworker literally just died. You would think that you would like cancel it or reschedule it. Yeah, because it got brought up way earlier. They were asking her about it. And she's like, well, if Dawn's not found by then, or if she is or whatever, we'll just like run and raise money for her. It's just like, oh my God. It's like so dismissive or whatever. I don't even know what to call that. I wouldn't even call it dismissive. It was just like weird. It was such a weird response. And in chapter 27, 3 months earlier, Natalie sends out an email to all of the employees at Vixt saying that they're going to have a bridal shower at the end of the week for Kim. Dawn replies all, and she says she'll make her special turtle cupcakes, turtle being like chocolate caramel, pecan things, and she's gonna make them. And Natalie responds directly to Dawn because Dawn replied all, and so Natalie replies directly, and she says, for God's sake, Dawn, you don't have to respond to everybody. I'll let you know if somebody else claims cupcakes. And so then in the email that Dawn sends to Mia, her friend, she's like, Natalie never let me know if anybody else claimed cupcakes, so I went ahead and made, a dozen, and I put in so much work on it because I figured you could never have enough cupcakes. And so I brought it in, and I put them in, in the break room because it was going to be in the break room at 3:00, and the party happens, and she can't find her cupcakes anywhere. And so then she goes into the break room to try and look in there where the party's happening. And she's like, well, maybe they're like somewhere weird. I don't know. And she like searches all over the place. When she goes back in there and the party's in full swing, Natalie intercepts her at the door, and she's like, who shows up to a potluck without any food? That's like, I can't believe you would do that. She's like, I brought my cupcakes. I just don't know where they are. Natalie's like, you're lying right now. Lying's unattractive. And also, I didn't think I had to say it, but obviously only friends of Kim's were invited to this. And then Dawn looks over Natalie's shoulder, and it's like everybody in the company is in the room celebrating. Dawn is the only one that's not allowed. And so she goes to the whatever little kitchen area, or maybe I don't know, maybe they're in a conference room and she goes to the break room, whatever. She goes into this other room and she finds all of her turtle cupcakes squished together at the bottom of the trash can. So she's telling Mia, and she's like, I spent hours on those. All my hard work was in the garbage. Nobody had the opportunity to see them or taste them. I spent hours on those cupcakes for nothing. You always used to tell me to never give people the satisfaction of seeing me cry. If I was ever on the brink, you would tell me how awesome I am and that I need to be strong. But it was easy to not cry when you were right here with me. It's a lot harder when you're alone. But you're right. No matter what, you can't let anyone know they've gotten to you because that's how they win. So I went back to my cubicle with my chin high. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. You would have been proud of me. And I have tears in my eyes in like the sad way now. So Mia responds, OMG, Dawn, this Natalie person has crossed a line. You need to go to HR and report her. I'm serious. And Dawn responds, Dear Mia, I understand why you would say that, but I would rather not go to HR. I will just make another batch of cupcakes and keep them in my cubicle for the next party. Besides, the head of HR loves Natalie. I'm literally crying. This is so sad. This is so sad. I swear to God, if Dawn's actually dead, I'm going to be pissed. If Natalie doesn't get shanked at the end of this, I'm going to be really upset. This bitch. In chapter 28, present day Natalie, she has another interview set up, this time with a local radio show host to promote the 5K. But the radio show host is like, hey, if your coworker literally just died, because the 5K is like sponsored by the company. She's like, if your coworker just died, probably not the best time to do this. And also, it's trending on social media that you guys all bullied her. Natalie's like, what are you talking about? The host says, yeah, look up hashtag #VixToBullies. And she does, and she's like, oh my God, that's not even true, I liked her. I get that, the host says, but I just feel like the climate is wrong right now. I can't take the side of the enemy, I'm not the enemy. I'm the one who found out she was missing in the first place. Yeah, it was hashtag suspicious. Ugh. So she hangs up the phone, and Natalie's like, oh my God, this is worse than I expected. And in chapter 29, she's checking all the comments on social media, and all of them are lighting her the F up about bullying, and then posting all of the side effects of the nutrient supplements that the company sells. And then all of them calling Natalie a liar and being like, yeah, she sold me all this stuff and she said all this stuff. And she's just like, blah, 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 ruining my health. She's such a beezy and she's a terrible person. In chapter 30, Dawn, it's 2 months earlier, sorry. 2 months earlier, Dawn sends her mom an email that says, Dear mother, what is the best way to get a coworker to like you better? Do you have any strategies that I could use? Her mom responds, who are we talking about? A man? No, this is the coworker is a woman. Who cares if some woman likes you? It's probably a lost cause, so don't even bother. Anyway, you need a man. You're not going to get any younger. Also, I'm going to need a little extra money this month. About $2,000 should cover it, but more would be better. The car broke down. Dear mother, I'm sorry, but I can't. My rent is higher in Quincy. Are we at, like, Quincy, Illinois? Quincy? There's probably a bunch of Quincy's, right? That'd be crazy. Anyway, my rent is higher in Quincy, and I don't have much extra. I could send $1,000 more this month, but that's the maximum. You really can't afford an extra $2,000 after all I put up with you from... What? I put up with from you? Let me take that from the top. Take 2. You really can't afford an extra $2,000 after all I put up with from you? Dude, that sentence is not doing good in my head. Constantly calling me and whining about how you have no friends. I wish I had $1 for every hour I listened to you going on and on about those goddamn turtles. You can't even give your own mother a little extra money one month. Oh, dear mother, I'm afraid I can't. I apologize. Well, I can't believe how ungrateful you are. Don't bother asking me for advice ever again. Then she emails Mia. I must be desperate because I emailed my mother to get her advice. Not that your advice hasn't been great, but I needed to try something different. I tried smiling more at Natalie and be as nice as possibly can, but it's not working. And it's this whole long email and then talking about her mom and how she looked up some articles and there were a lot of tips about body language. Besides smiling, the article recommended tilting your head toward the other person. The science behind it is that evolutionarily, tilting your head exposes your carotid artery, so you're letting the other person know you aren't looking to fight. And then it goes on like this whole thing about eye contact and all these other things that the article suggests. Honestly, if I didn't have you to talk to, I don't know what I would do. Do you think I might be able to come to visit you and George in Palo Alto soon? Spending a week away from here will make all the difference. Please let me know when a good time to visit would be. Mia responds, we would absolutely love to have you, but my work is insanely busy right now and George's parents are flying out this weekend. It may not be the best time. Could we talk about it in a few weeks? I would love to see you. Also, I shouldn't have to tell you this, but don't give your mother any more money and for God's sake, don't ask her for advice. I don't know what it is about Mia, but I'm starting to feel that that's also not a good friendship. I'm starting to feel like none of this is good. I'm starting to really be concerned about everything that's happening right now. I went in this just wanting a little fun hee hee ha ha, this is so silly goofy time. But instead, I'm just reading 400 pages about a woman getting bullied. This is like really, really hurting me so sad deep in my heart right now, guys. And I don't think it's going to get better. There's no way that this is going to turn around and be like worth anything. There's not going to be some grander message here about like, don't be a dick to people, right? There's no way. I don't have that much faith in this author that this is going to turn into a PSA of like being nice to your coworkers and nice to people that are different from you. I feel like that is not where we're going with the story. I feel like she's going to turn Dawn into a bad guy or something. Oh, no, please. I swear to God, if we make Natalie the victim at this, I'm going to be so upset. I literally don't want to keep reading. Chapter 31, present day. Natalie goes home after work, after this whole radio show host interview thing that she had earlier that she like stormed out of and whatnot. She goes home. She finds out on the news that Dawn's tortoiseshell glasses were found broken next to her body. And then Natalie's doing her laundry, trying to act normal and have like a normal day. But at the bottom of her laundry hamper, she finds a broken turtle figurine that is the size of a basketball and covered in blood. And Natalie realizes that this is probably the murder weapon, the blunt, object or whatever that killed Dawn. And she's like, somebody's trying to frame me for murder. And right as she realizes this, there's a knock on the door and she opens it and there's an unmarked police car outside. Uh-oh, this is escalating. In chapter 33, 2 months earlier, Natalie sends an email to her boyfriend, Caleb, asking for some help. I don't know if they weren't dating at this point. Natalie just emails him and she's like, hey, so I hear you're the new computer expert. Can you help me? He says, sure. And I'm guessing that is when they first started talking. And then Dawn messages Mia. Oh, I feel like this is going to be a juicy email. Dear Mia, this morning I found Natalie in the break room. Kim was away on her honeymoon, so she was with the new guy, Caleb, and she had a stack of booster sheets in front of her. Over the last couple of months, Natalie has been organizing a 5K run for charity. She does this every year, apparently. I watched at the doorway to the break room for a moment. Caleb was hired a couple of months ago to help out with the company's website, which Seth is hoping will become a larger source of sales. Caleb works part-time, so he's only here a couple days a week, but I've been noticing him hanging around with Natalie a lot during that time. From my perch at the doorway, I could see the way that he was looking at her. It was the same way that Seth looked at her. Caleb is attractive, tall and lean with nice teeth, although I wouldn't go as far as to say he's handsome, but when he smiled at Natalie, it transformed his face into the kind that would turn heads. And then, I don't know, a whole back and forth, they talk. She waves hi at Natalie and Caleb, and Natalie has this really fake, greeting with her, introduction, whatever. Caleb leaves the room. Instantly, Natalie is like pissed off, and she's like, "What do you want, Dawn?" They have a little bit of back and forth, and Dawn, trying to continue to make a friend, says, "Oh, Natalie, I like your necklace." And she immediately, "What are you saying? Are you saying that you don't think I can afford a necklace like this?" What an odd thing to say. I didn't understand why she was so upset, so I reassured her that I wasn't implying anything and that I was simply complimenting her necklace. And then she tries to hug Natalie because she read on the websites that physical touch is helpful. And then Natalie gets really upset about this and her face goes bright red and she's telling her to don't ever touch me again. I sputtered an apology, but she didn't say anything. Her shoulder jostled mine as she pushed past me and left the break room. For a good minute after she left, I just stood there, my legs too shaky to carry me out of the room. I didn't know what I did wrong. I keep thinking about it, but I can't figure it out. I was so nice to her. I used her name. I gave her several compliments. Nothing worked. I don't know what to do, Mia. Please help me. God. Of course, when Natalie opens the door, it's Detective Santoro. And he's like, is this the first time he's been to her house, I guess, maybe? Because he's like, wow, your house is pretty expensive. This is a really nice place. Do you think maybe that special conversation that Dawn wanted to have with you, she's an accountant. You think maybe she thought you were stealing money from the company? And Natalie's like, no, I would never do such a thing. I don't know what you're talking about. Can you guess? Can you guess what happened? Can you guess what she did? And then he also goes on to say again of yeah, I bet that's why you wanted to kill her, because she knew you were stealing from the company. She's like, I told you I had an alibi. And he's like, yeah, and I'll find out if your boyfriend lied about your alibi and blah, blah, blah. And just I don't know, intimidation or something, whatever you want to call it. So when he leaves, she is super, super pissed off. And so she ends up breaking the turtle into a whole bunch of more pieces. And then puts all the little turtle things in a bag and then takes it in her car, and she drives out into the sea to dump it into the ocean. And when she gets back to her car, she gets another phone call from a blocked number that doesn't say anything to her, and she's wondering if there's any other evidence that has been planted in her house. Chapter 36 is more emails from 1 month earlier. This time, it's Kim sending an email to all of the employees saying that somebody stole her ketchup or something out of the fridge, and she's pissed off about it. Dawn responds back to everybody that it couldn't have been her because yesterday was white food day and today was green food day, and she only eats those colored foods on certain days. She only has one color of food a day type of thing. And I don't know, back and forth, whatever. The big thing from this chapter that is really, really hurtful and bad and really, really sad, again, because God forbid we not just bully a woman, is she's typing an email to Mia saying that this was the worst day she's ever had and she needs to talk about it. And when she went to work, Natalie had broken all of her turtle figurines and had covered them in fake blood or something and left them broken. And so she screamed and everybody came running and everybody was looking at her, and Seth blamed her and thought she did it to her own turtles. And when she went to confront him in his office later and say that Natalie did it, and also that Natalie, when she walked by her cubicle, had Kim's bottle of ketchup in her trash can, and that she did it on purpose to try to get Kim to be mad at her or something. And Seth doesn't listen because he's like, Natalie wouldn't do that. And blah, blah, blah. You're just being dramatic, Dawn. I don't know what your problem is. And Dawn says, she's pretty much are you just defending her because you're sleeping with her? And he starts getting all oh, blah, 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 blah. She's dating Caleb. And then he just continues, and she was afraid she was going to get fired, but he doesn't. He just turns back around. And she's just really sad. So then she had to go back and clean up her desk area. And Mia's response is, that's so messed up. I can't believe this would happen to you. She even has a picture, like Dawn sent her a picture of the cubicle when it was all messed up and stuff was everywhere. And Mia's like, I'm so sorry. You don't deserve this. You can't let her get away with this. Chapter 37, present day. Natalie is tearing her house apart, looking for more planted evidence. And the next day at work, that turtle figurine that she keeps trying to throw away, it shows up yet again. And so she asks somebody, like one of the IT people, to put an app on her phone so that she can track the numbers that are calling her, like the not blocked numbers, but the oh my God, anonymous? That's not the word. Star 67. What is it? It's not a blocked number. Is that what it would be? God damn, I would love if I could talk. I would love to have one singular video where I know all of the words that I want to say. And this is why I need to write scripts, but I don't. This is all off the cuff, if you can't tell. I have summaries, but I don't have things to actually say out loud. I just have random bullet points for each chapter that are completely not helpful by the time I get to this point in my life, in case you were curious. Oh, I guess so, yeah. Yeah, blocked call. The blocked numbers to call me last 3 nights. It's hard to believe those calls aren't somehow linked to the whole thing. And so she has him download the app or put it on her phone or whatever in case they call again. She'll be able to track it this time. And then she gets called to Seth's office. But before we find out why, we cut to chapter 38, 1 week earlier. Dawn is emailing Mia that she has found some discrepancies. Miss Accountant Sleuth over here has found out that Natalie is lying about her sales and that there's some really sketchy stuff going on with Natalie and all of these numbers. And so she wants to talk to Natalie about it before she goes to Seth. And Mia responds, don't do that. You need to go to Seth directly. Don't talk to her. Back in present day, Seth says, hey, Natalie, Detective Santoro has come in to see me yet again. And they told me that they found evidence that Dawn had figured out that you were stealing money from the company. And it makes sense. I was always wondering how you could afford such expensive things. And I bet that that's why you slept with me. You had this whole affair so that I wouldn't look at the numbers too close to what you were doing. And she's like, no, that's not what it was. That didn't happen. And ignoring all of this and her pleas and everything, he says that she's suspended without pay while he checks the accounts more closely and stuff while he does a deep dive. Chapter 40, Natalie tells Kim that she's going to go and take a few days off and asks if Kim is going to go to the 5K that weekend. And Kim doesn't, she's like, maybe sort of, I don't know. And then Natalie grabs her arm really, really hard until Kim says that she will go to the 5K. So there's definitely some stuff brewing, right? There's some stuff bubbling under the surface of this Natalie lady that I don't like very much, on top of just the blatant being a jerk. Chapter 41 is a lot of shenanigans because her mom calls her and she says, honey, I heard that girl from your work is dead. And they're saying that people at your company bullied her. Did you bully her, Natalie? No. Oh my God, Mom. You should be kind to people who aren't as popular as you are, Natalie. Even though she's not as pretty as you are or as well liked, you could still be nice to her. What the fuck? I was nice to her. Obviously not. What is the world coming to when even my own mother thinks I'm a big old bully? I wouldn't bully somebody, Mom. Well, obviously you would. She sniffs. You have. Remember how you had that friend of yours, Tara, used to, What does it take to get your mom to realize that you're not a high school cheerleader anymore? I was nice to Dawn, I swear it. I know you, Natalie. I know what you can be like. Do you remember when, as my mother drones on, I hear a beep in my ear? I pull the phone away. Caleb is calling, thank God. And Caleb is calling to tell her that he talked to the detective and told him the truth. I told him that I left your house at 9:30. I'm so sorry. And she's like, how could you do this to me? He's like, what was I supposed to do? I'm not going to lie to a cop. And he, apologizes. And he's like, I didn't mean to tell him. I wasn't going to, but he got it out of me. And I don't want to lie to a cop or anything. But Oh, I'm sorry, and I'll come to the 5K, okay? Like, I promise, and I'm sure all this will blow over. I mean, you didn't do anything wrong. How could you have done it? That detective is just giving you a hard time. Yeah, except there's something more going on. I swear to fucking God, I'm going to lose my mind. I haven't told Caleb about the ceramic turtle I found in my laundry hamper, and after he snitched on me to the detective, there's no way I would consider it. But there's a reason Santoro keeps hounding me. I don't know what it is, but somebody has it out for me. I just don't know who or why. The doorbell rings, and I almost jump out of my skin. Even from the sofa, I can see the red and blue lights flashing behind the front door. Oh no. Caleb, I have to go. Are you sure you're all right? I'm fine. I have to go. Before he can answer, I end the call. He wasn't really answering. You were just kind of saying bye. I rise from the sofa, facing the lights of the police vehicle, except it's not just one light on top of the detective's car. It's more than that. There are a bunch of police cars outside. Something terrible is about to happen. So, chapter 42, the detective says, hey, I've got a warrant to search your car and your home. And we learn that Detective Santoro was bullied very, very badly when he was in school. And so he is really not taking this personally necessarily, but this is like, he really dislikes people who bully others. And so that's why he has had it out for her so deeply, is because he knows the kind of person that she is. You know what I mean? Like, just like in general, the vibe of person that she is. And in chapter 43, we're almost at the end of part 1. This might get a little crazy. 43, Monday of that day. I don't know when we started the week. It just said present day. Do we not have, was this a Friday? Was it a Tuesday? Hello? Why would we say present day? Why wouldn't you give me days of the week to begin with? Why are you going to say Monday to me right now? I don't know what that means in the context of the dates that we're in. Why would you... Why is it like this? Why does this woman do this to me? Chapter 43, Monday. To Natalie from Dawn. There is a matter of great importance that I need to discuss with you urgently. Please come to my cubicle at the conclusion of the workday today. Natalie messages Caleb, asking if he's still on for dinner tonight, and Caleb says, I'll be there. There's one other thing I need to take care of tonight, but I don't think it'll be a problem. What does Caleb need to do? Dawn messaging Mia. I'm just writing a quick email because I've got company coming over. It's the first time since I've lived here that I'm entertaining a guest. Is that where Caleb is going? Is Caleb going to Dawn's house? Unless you count the maintenance people I've had over, which I guess you really can't. Even my mother hasn't been here yet. Of course, you'll be here next month during your vacation. I've already set up the extra bedroom for you and George to stay in. I'm glad that you got a good price on the tickets. Telling Natalie was the correct thing to do. I sent her an email asking to meet at the end of the workday, and she came by my cubicle just before 5. When I mentioned there was a discrepancy in the accounts from last year, she agreed to come with me to the empty conference room. Then we were alone. I told Natalie about the missing money from each of her sales transactions. I told her how much money it was, and when she heard the numbers, she sucked in a breath. Then she started quizzing me. She had about 1 million questions. She asked how far back in the records I had looked, and then she asked who I thought took the money, and I told her that I wasn't sure, even though it seemed to me that she was the only person who could have taken it, and then she asked me who else I told about it. I didn't tell anyone, I told her, although that's not entirely true. I've told you, but she didn't need to know that. It's not like you work for the company. See, I never know with Freida. I'm like, so does she work for the company? Again, I was hoping Natalie would confess to taking the money and promise to return it before I had to turn her in, but that's not what happened. Instead, she started talking about other people who might have taken it. Only Seth, I told her. But why would he steal from his own branch and make himself look bad? And why would he frame somebody who he liked so much? But weirdly, Natalie didn't dismiss the possibility that Seth could have done it. In fact, the idea of it got her excited. And she said we needed to get together, and Nancy drew this mystery to figure out who took the money and why. And that's when she suggested coming over later tonight. That part was exactly what I wanted to hear. She wasn't blowing off my accusations. She was concerned and wanted to figure it out together. We made plans together tonight. She reminded me to not tell anyone because of course they would try to cover their tracks. Then she told me she was counting on me. I asked her when she wanted to get together, and I was disappointed when she suggested not meeting until 10. She said she already made plans with Caleb, and he would be so devastated if she canceled. She giggled and mentioned he was completely enamored with her, which I believe. She has him wrapped around her little finger. So Natalie hung out with him until 9:30 and then went over to Dawn's house at 10 o'clock. and she'd been cleaning and super excited to have Natalie come over this entire time. I fed Junior, which is her turtle, and now all I've got to do is wait for Natalie. We're going to have a really nice night together. I have a bottle of red wine, and we can each have a glass while we talk about the situation at work. We'll get to know each other. I'll introduce her to Junior, and we'll figure out who took that money. Oh my gosh, the doorbell just rang. This must be her. Wish me luck. Chapter 44. Present day. Natalie. This is the day of the 5K, and Natalie gets yet another phone call from a blocked number. But now that she has the app, she can figure out who or where it's coming from. And it's coming from a motel in Providence, Rhode Island. So I'm guessing they are not in Quincy, Illinois. It must be, I don't know, up on the East Coast somewhere. It's from Providence, Rhode Island. And when Caleb meets her at the 5K, she tells him about this, and she tells him how she's going to drive out to that motel after the 5K. And he says, okay, I'll come with you. She says, you'll go all the way to Rhode Island with me? Yeah, if you wouldn't mind me tagging along. And she's like, I'm so thankful for him. He's the best boyfriend ever. And they're going to get dinner tonight, and it's going to be so much fun. And we learn she gets yet another freaking interview by somebody before the 5K begins, and they're asking her about it. And she says, yeah, you know, this not editing Kaylee being upside down cerebral, okay? I know it said cerebral. For some god-forsaken reason, I kept saying cerebral. Cerebral? Cerebral? I don't even know how the I was saying it this day. I know it's cerebral, okay? I'm sorry. The cerebral palsy, raising money for it or toward it or whatever, is really close and near and dear to my heart because my friend growing up, Amelia, she had cerebral palsy. But we had Tara. Her mom mentioned a random girl named Tara that she used to bully her at school. And now we have Amelia, her friend from childhood with cerebral palsy. Amelia, Mia, I could see that as a nickname, is her childhood friend, the Mia that Dawn's been talking to. But what twist would that be? That doesn't make any sense. So then what would any of the other connections be? Is Tara Mia, and the girl that she bullied when she was young is friends with her, with Dawn? But that wouldn't make sense. But there has to be a linkage. Knowing Freida, somehow these people are all the same person, right? Like somehow this is all going to come together in a way that's going to piss me off. And as she's about to, start the 5K and she's wrapping up this interview, she looks out into the crowd and she sees Seth's wife in the crowd staring at her. And then all of a sudden, the Detective Santoro that we've been dealing with this whole time approaches her and puts her in handcuffs and whisks her away. And as they're going off, again, freaking televised watching, whole world is watching. Seth's wife magically appeared and is watching. She's begging Caleb. She's like, please, Caleb, go and see what the hotel, motel, Holiday Inn. Please go see what it's about. And that's the end of part 1. Part 2 of the book is all from Dawn's perspective. Is this where the character assassination is about to happen? Is this about to get really bad really fast? I don't know. It's less than 20 chapters of hers, and I think I'm going to go and read this actually on my own and take some notes, and then I'll come back up and we'll talk about it. Ugh, I'm so scared, and not in a fun way. Kidding. I read the intro part to Dawn's, and I'm angry enough to continue. Chapter 45, Dawn. There's no day indicator, so I'm guessing it's just the same day. One of the scariest animals in the world is the soft-shelled tortoise. Nope, turtle. Because God forbid, is tortoise ever said? Is there a difference between a tortoise and a turtle? I'm sure there is. I'm sure the book would have told me. Tortoise is said 6 times. One of the scariest animals in the world is the soft-shelled turtle. They don't look that scary. They don't even have the traditional turtle shell. They look a bit like a pancake with a head and legs sticking out. But don't be fooled. They can be deadly. They hide in the sand, not moving an inch, waiting patiently for their prey, ready to strike with their razor-sharp beak. That's what it takes to catch prey. Patience. We can all learn a lot from the soft-shelled turtle. I've been watching the news all morning, over and over. I can't get enough of it. The moment where the detective steps out of the crowd and tells Natalie that she's under arrest. The horrified look on her face. Blah, 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 blah. So Dawn. Wow, this is going to be hard for me and my mental vocaling. Hello? Dawn has been the one that's in the motel making all these phone calls and stuff. And she has been surviving on food from the vending machines. And if she ever does leave her room at all, she puts on a wig. And it turns out that she had like cut her arm and had bled on the carpet on purpose. Yeah, I can't let myself be found. It was hard enough to get Natalie arrested. I can't blow it all when I'm so close. She needs to pay. If I don't do it, nobody else will. The news switches to a thing about me. I stare at my mother's face on the television screen, waiting to see something, guilt or remorse, but there's nothing. My mother has never been supportive of me for one day of my life. When I was a kid, all she wanted was for me to stop embarrassing her. And as an adult, all she cared about was that I sent her those checks every month. If I never come back, she might feel a little bit sad occasionally, but she'll be happy to get the money I left in my bank account. She doesn't care about me anymore, and any more than I care about her. And if she knew what I was up to, she would turn me in herself. Okay? And then she looks outside of the window of her motel room, and she sees Caleb. So, oh my God. So Caleb is in on this, right? He was in on Natalie getting arrested, and he was so happy for her to be arrested. And Dawn is talking about, you know, how they had it all set up, and I can't believe he dealt with her being his girlfriend for so long, and he swore to me that he didn't touch her or anything. And she's noting how she had rearranged the toiletries that he had brought her, and how, yeah, he like brought her food and she would explain it to him if he asked about other stuff, but I don't have to because he doesn't bother with it, and blah, blah, blah. And then obviously they end up kissing, okay? Her and Caleb are actually together. I don't know why I said obviously. I wouldn't have clocked that, but they... I'm sorry. They start kissing, and then they're about to like hook up, and she's so excited, and she asks if they can like watch the news piece of Natalie getting arrested. Like, she wants to watch it in the background while they do stuff. What Caleb is doing to me feels so good, and I want it so badly, but I can't help but keep one eye on the television. Natalie is on there again. She's facing the camera. This race is in Amelia's honor, she's telling the reporter. Despite everything, her words fill me with white-hot rage. How could she say that? That lying bitch. How could she tell the world that Amelia was her best friend and all of this was in Amelia's honor? I look over at the table by the bed where the pad of paper with the letter to my own best friend is written in my neat cursive, which Mia would know instantly. I close my eyes, remembering the words I scribbled on the paper in ballpoint pen. Dear Mia, you would have been so proud of me today. The police arrested Natalie. She was at her stupid 5K race, and right in front of dozens of cameras, they snapped handcuffs on her wrists. You should have seen the look on her face. I've dreamed of this day for so many years. Caleb and I dreamed about it together. There were times when he started to go soft on me, asking if it was worth it to go through with it, but I didn't want him to give up. I wouldn't, and together we made this happen, and now Natalie will go to prison for the rest of her life. That's what she deserves, although she will technically be going for a crime she didn't commit. Still, since she's guilty of murder and was given a free pass, it feels justified. I told you I would get vengeance. I told you I wouldn't oh my God. I told you I would get vengeance. I told you I wouldn't let Natalie get away with killing you. I made my promise on the day you died, and today I honored that promise. I love you. I will never forget you. What the fuck do you mean? What do you mean? She's been emailing with somebody. Has Caleb been pretending to respond to her? Did they set her up? Were those all fake emails between Dawn and this Mia person in the first part of the book? And they were framing her? And then also, they made note about the body that got found, and how like they couldn't identify it as Dawn's because I guess the person had been beaten so badly and was like missing their teeth that they couldn't verify in that way. They just assumed it was her. And Caleb was like, yeah, you know, they're going to find out eventually. Like, they're going to know that it's not yours. I was like, I thought they found her turtle glasses next to the body. Did I hallucinate that? Hold on. Yeah, the glasses found shattered on the ground beside her. I imagine Dawn's tortoiseshell glasses lying in the dirt, stained with her own blood. I mean, maybe they were different glasses and it just happened to be like a coincidence, but I'm also like, that doesn't sound like it was a convenient coincidence. That sounds like, I don't know. I don't think I like where this is going, though. I don't think I like where this is going at all. I know I keep saying that. I keep repeating it, but like I feel like this is just going to get worse. And I still have like 15 chapters. Oh no. So, chapter 47, we get a flashback to Dawn thinking about her childhood. And she got bullied a lot growing up. And then when she was in like 7th grade or something, I don't know, I listened to it, I'm not going back. In 7th grade or something, she got bullied, but then there was this new girl that started at her school. She was a year older, like Dawn was a year older, but this girl, Amelia, and she went by Mia if you were really friends with her. And they befriended each other, and they both got bullied because Mia had cerebral palsy. And they would go back and forth, defending each other to different people, and it was going to be okay. Eventually, she graduates from high school, and she goes off to college, and now she just has to write letters to Mia, and that's how they communicate. But now with her gone, she's not there to really defend Mia, and then eventually it gets to the point of Natalie and her friend Tara have continued to relentlessly bully Mia to the point of like making fun of her in class, and then everybody else started doing it. They were like imitating her voice, really, really messed up stuff. Come Valentine's Day, they pretend to be this boy that she had a crush on named George. And then now if like you look back at it in the letters in part 1 back and forth, she was saying that her husband was George, which is kind of like, I don't know. I guess it was this guy she had a crush on though. And Natalie and Tara were pretending to be him and like pretending to ask Mia out on a date and like really embarrassed her. And then she ended up taking her own life 2 days later, but there was no proof of the bullying or evidence of the bullying or anything. So as much as Dawn was pushing the parents to press charges, they didn't. And so then she had to sit there and just watch as Natalie bullied her friend to death and then went on to college and like date a bunch of hot guys and make a zillion new friends and like live this crazy life that Mia would never be able to. There was nothing I could do about it. Nobody cared except me. Even Mia's own parents were willing to let it go. And then one day I found someone who hated Natalie as much as I did. Someone who blamed her for killing Mia the same way I did, who wasn't willing to let it go as easily as her parents were. Caleb, Mia's brother. Okay, and this is also where I need to know. Yeah, so they all like went to high school together, and Dawn was really surprised, but like Natalie is so Natalie-centric is how it's described, that they worked together in a cubicle next to each other for 9 months, and Natalie never recognized her, even though technically they only went to high school together for a couple of months, even in high school before like transferring and graduating and whatever. I don't know. This is, so Caleb, I don't know. Let me read the next chapter. I'm just going to touch base after each chapter because I don't know how else to do this. Okay, sorry. I know. I keep saying I'll do stuff and then I'm changing my mind because this is going so batshit sideways. Chapter 48 is from Natalie's perspective. She is talking to her lawyer. She didn't have enough money to buy or like get one for herself. So it's like one of the free legal assistant ones, whatever the fuck the terminology is for that. Because she's saving her money for bail and she just is like short on funds in general right now. It's kind of weird if you're embezzling money from your company, you'd think you'd be rolling in it. And then she's talking to her lawyer and then he calls her the wrong last name. And then she's like, no, it's Farrell. And he says, oh, right, of course, sorry, Miss Farrell. I don't say anything to that. Like, you don't accept his apology or like he said your name wrong again. And this is where I was like, is she a Mrs. Farrell? Is she married to George? I'm like trying to create all these like scenarios in my head. I'm like, is she a Mrs.? Does she actually have a husband that just like never got talked about for some reason? Well, no, that wouldn't make sense because her mom was asking her about a man. So is Farrell not her last name? But that wouldn't make sense. Why would you phrase it that way? What is happening right now? And so then he goes on to tell her, she's like, I didn't do it. And the lawyer says, hey, you can be honest with me. I mean, the police found blood and hair in the trunk of your car and it matched up to what they found in her house. And she's like, oh my God, I'm really being framed for this, but nobody will believe me. And he's like, yeah, and also it's really suspicious about your whole boyfriend thing. You know, you said you were with him and then you weren't. Like, you're really not setting yourself up for success here. I mean, yeah, but have you seen that detective? He's terrifying. And I didn't make a statement under oath. I just didn't have an alibi for that night. There are plenty of people who don't have an alibi for Monday night. Ferguson gave me a funny look, Ferguson being her lawyer. And that's not all your boyfriend said. This is completely isn't fair. Santoro was harassing Caleb. He found him and forced him to say a bunch of things he probably didn't mean. No, that's not what happened at all. Caleb came to the station voluntarily. He told them he wanted to make a statement and they recorded it. I saw the transcript. Oh no. He said you pressured him into lying about being together that night, and he said he left your house at around 9:30 after you asked him to leave. Apparently, you told him you had somewhere to be. He also said that you and Dawn didn't get along and that you were constantly picking on her and that the two of you hated each other. And she's like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I don't believe any of this, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Detective, he's like, yeah, so as you can tell, they've got a good case against you, but I've got some good news. Like what? Well, they don't have a dead body. What? I don't understand. The detective said they found a body. Actually, they were having trouble identifying the body because she was beaten so badly and her teeth were destroyed, so dental records couldn't be used, but DNA testing has now revealed it was not Dawn. So she might not even be dead? How can I be convicted of murder if there's no body? It's harder, but still possible. And so then he's like trying to convince her to take a plea deal because she could end up with life in prison if she doesn't. If it looks like I'm going down for this, if it looks like I might spend the rest of my life in prison, I'm going to end it all. I'll drive back out to Wollaston Beach and I'll throw myself off the pier in the middle of the night at high tide. Nobody will be able to save me. But I hope it doesn't come to that. There was a girl in my high school who took her life. It was so incredibly tragic, something I couldn't stop thinking about for years to come. Except now I get it. I finally understand the hopelessness that girl must have felt when she took her life. The feeling that it would be better to be swallowed up into the abyss than continue to live life as you know it. I can't let that happen to me. I can't. Okay. I'm confused. I'm confused at the detachment of the girl ending her own life if it's somebody that you bullied so consistently. And then why did the mom bring up the whole Tara thing? Watch Amelia not really be dead and Tara's the one that got... I'm trying to think what... Because there's going to be like another twist, right? There has to be like another twist to this. Because the mom said Tara. Chapter 49, Dawn's perspective. She is thinking about Caleb. He's the only man I've been with. I'm sure he's the only man I'll ever be with. If not for him, I would almost certainly still be a virgin. I wouldn't have lost it to a turtle, as Natalie helpfully pointed out. Okay. I reconnected with Caleb about a year after Mia died. I came to see her parents, and he was there too. I knew Caleb from when we were younger, but I never paid much attention to my friend's big brother back then, although I always liked him because I knew he was protective of Mia. When I saw him all those years later, I was taken aback by how tall and cute he was, because she moved away, like, shortly after their, like, 8th grade. I don't know. You know what? I don't even care about this whole school thing. I don't even give a shit. I'm not looking it up to correct myself if I've said anything incorrect. No matter what the days and the months and the school years are, or how many years, whatever, it doesn't change the fact of what's happening right now. Caleb is Mia's half-brother. Okay, why does that matter? That's why they had different last names. Okay, that's why that mattered. He adored his baby sister. He spent the last year blaming himself for letting this happen to her. He didn't even know about Natalie. Not all of it anyway, not until I filled him in. So they went back and forth trying to think of a plan. And then she had noticed that he was looking at me different. Okay. And then they ended up having a kiss after this. Yeah, I don't know what you want me to say. They love each other, they fell in love with each other, and it's all been so great. The deeper he fell in love with me, the more his hatred of Natalie seemed to dissipate. He didn't talk about her much anymore. He didn't want to get revenge. It was a long time ago, he started saying. That's when I knew. We had to do it now before he completely lost desire for revenge. And then they're packing up to leave the motel, and she's like, yeah, I wonder if they figured out that dead body isn't mine. You know, I haven't seen it mentioned in the news. He says, yeah, I mean, if not, I'm sure they will soon. Just like, what a crazy coincidence, isn't it? I mean, a girl the same age as you turns up at the exact same time. He keeps saying that. He keeps talking about what a strange coincidence it is, but it's not that strange. Thousands of women are murdered every year in this country. It's a coincidence. He doesn't need to give me a funny look when he says it. And then they end up getting in a fight because she's asking him what it was like kissing Natalie. And he's like, dude, come on. You know, I didn't want to date her. I didn't want to kiss her. Like, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, I don't know. It kind of seemed like you liked it. But she's the one that made him. Oh my God. Mia has been dead for 13 years now, and I feel like I'm the only one who truly cares anymore. Even her own brother has forsaken her. Natalie's going to pay. Those emails left on my computer were a stroke of brilliance. Who is stupid enough to leave their computer password on a sticky note under their mouse pad? But I'm sure the police bought it. Those emails I composed to Mia were a work of art. I'm so glad Mia could play a little part in the plan to take down the woman who killed her. Caleb even set up an untraceable fake account from Mia to reply to the emails and make it all seem more real. Caleb composed dozens of fake emails allegedly from Mia, and we gave her the life she always wanted. She always dreamed of living on the West Coast and, of course, being married to George. In my emails, I painted Natalie to be a psychopath, and it all but says she was at my house on the night of the disappearance. And then there's the bloody ceramic turtle that Caleb planted in her laundry hamper, and her fingerprints strategically scattered throughout my house. In one more damning little surprise, she's finished. There's no way she isn't going down for murder. Caleb reaches for my hand. He laces his fingers into mine. I saw Natalie hold his hand like that once. You're not really upset over this, are you? No, it's fine, I lie. We should get on the road soon. Caleb nods. We both get out of bed and start getting dressed. It's lucky Natalie told him that she had traced my calls. If she hadn't, it could have ruined everything. That was a very close call. I'm not going to take any chances anymore. This has to go exactly to plan. Chapter 50, Natalie is in jail and she's just sharing a cell with the woman who takes her blanket from her. And she's just cold and scared. Chapter 51, they get to a motel, Dawn and Caleb do, and it's kind of dumpy, and they turn on the news, and on the news it announces that the body was not Dawn's. And she gets worried that Natalie will not be convicted and she won't go to jail if the body's not hers. Like, she won't be convicted without a body. Does that make sense? In chapter 52, Natalie calls her mom from prison or jail or whatever, and she tries to tell her mom, like, I didn't do it, but the mom doesn't believe her. You have to admit, it's the sort of thing that you would do. I don't even know what to say to that. It's the sort of thing I would do. I mean, she goes on, there were all those incidences when you were younger. Remember that girl and your friend Tara bullied? And she killed herself. She always brings that up. It doesn't seem to matter that I have set up a charity to honor Amelia. I'm still the girl who drove her to her death. But it should be said that the police didn't even consider bringing charges against me. I was barely even questioned. I've tried to make amends. When Tara and I were writing those fake Valentines to Amelia, I never for 1 second believed that they would make her do that. She seemed so much stronger than that, a fighter. Everyone was so shocked when she did it. And I've been trying to make it right ever since, trying to make up for the stupid thing I did when I was too young to know better. And then her parents say that they won't be able to afford her bail, and so she's going to be stuck there. There's no chance the bail will be less than what I have in the bank, even accounting for the fact I only have to pay 10% to the bondsman. It looks like I'm going to be in jail for a long while to come. Chapter 53, from Dawn's perspective. She's in the motel room. It's late. She wakes up. Caleb is asleep next to her. And she's just thinking about how she loved him before they even had kissed. And he took things so slowly for my sake. He was such a good guy. I had crushed on boys, but it was realistic that none of them would ever like me. But it wasn't like that with him. And then she's thinking about watching him and Natalie talk at work and how like hard that really was to happen. And how she always thought that they were like making fun of her behind her back and stuff. And it was in that moment of like when Natalie started to take interest in him and whatnot that I realized Caleb is normal. He isn't like me at all. We both got caught up in getting justice for Mia, but aside from that, we have nothing in common. Mia is our only bond, and eventually he will realize it. He was lying when he said he felt nothing for Natalie. The image she puts forth is extremely likable. She's the sort of person everyone gravitates toward. She's always been that way, a golden girl. Not everyone realizes what a snake she is. And then she's thinking about how they'll probably post bail tomorrow, and she is starting to like freak out, and she feels the pulsing of her wrist, like where she had cut herself to get all the blood at the house to make it look like she'd been killed or whatever. And then she gets up out of bed and goes into Caleb's jacket, and he has in his pocket like an engagement ring. And she's like, we can't do that. We can't get married when all of this is done. He can't marry a dead girl. He's very logical about most things, but he hasn't thought this through all the way. He just wants to marry me. But he doesn't see how much of a mistake that would be. Not just because of Natalie. In general, it would be a mistake. He doesn't want to be stuck with me for the rest of his life. He's got all mixed up in his head and blah, blah, blah. He feels responsible for me. She doesn't think that he could love her. And then she continues to think more about, I don't know, their like grand plan and how when they leave this, she was going to have like a new identity. I should have known though from the start that it would never go that way. Caleb and I didn't get together so we would fall in love. We got together so that we would get justice for Mia, to make Natalie pay for driving her to taking her life. There's only one way that can happen. There's only one way Natalie will go down hard. There needs to be a dead body, and it needs to be mine. What do you mean? What do you mean? Chapter 54, we go back to Natalie. She ends up on bail. Seth bailed her out, the boss, the affair partner that then ended things with his wife or whatever. He comes to Natalie's rescue and bails her out, takes her home. They have a little bit of chit chat and, you know, he apologizes because he's like, I had time to check the accounts and I see that like you didn't steal any money from Vixt. She says, yeah, I told you that I didn't do that. And he's like, yeah, I know, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. And then she gets a text message from Caleb, and that leads her to asking Seth about him. And we, long story short, find out that, well, she finds out rather, that Caleb knew Dawn before starting at the job because Dawn was his recommendation, like her referral, basically. And so he's like, yeah, they knew each other from before working here. Did they now? This is news to her. And so later on when Caleb calls her and he's like, hey, I heard you posted bail. Are you okay? She's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, I went to the motel and I talked to the guy. I asked if he saw anyone suspicious and I showed him a picture of Dawn, but he said he didn't see anything. And so Natalie's like, okay, yeah, totally. All right. Well, I need to be alone for a while. Okay. He says, okay, call me later, and hangs up. And she's like, what is Caleb's game? I know that he knows Dawn, but that's all I know for sure. He doesn't seem like he could possibly be a murderer. I can't wrap my head around it. There's something at the motel that he doesn't want me to know about. I'm sure of it now. I'm going to go find out what it is. And so she goes out to the motel and she shows them a photo of Caleb. And she is like, yeah, I know that guy. Yeah, he checked out on Saturday. What day are we now? Who fucking knows? I think we're on Sunday. I almost like if you were going to refer to dates and stuff, we should like, I don't know, maybe tell us what date it is. Not just like randomly drop a Monday and then say 2 days ago. From when? Not from Monday. How long ago? Oh my God. I hate these timelines. So the receptionist says, yeah, that guy checked out with a woman on Saturday. She's like, oh, thank you. Okay. And then she goes home. She gets inside. And she's realizing, she's like putting all the pieces together while this is happening. And she's like, if Caleb knew any of this and he was at the hotel with Dawn, then there's some other crazy stuff. And he must be the one that framed me because he was still at work all of those days. And he would have had access to move the turtle statue. And he was in my house and he could have been planting evidence. And oh my God, this is so crazy. And as she's putting this together, when she gets home, Caleb is waiting outside of her house for her. Uh-oh. And so Seth is the one that's been driving Natalie around, right, since she posted bail and all this has happened and realizing all this. And so he sees Caleb on Natalie's doorstep and he's like, hey, asshole, you need to stay away from Natalie. And then he's like, Natalie, we need to talk. And she says, damn straight, you've been lying to me all along. You planted that hair and blood in my car, didn't you? He looks taken aback. Fine. I did it, okay? I put the hair and blood in your trunk, okay? Seth jogs over, joining me next to Caleb. You killed her, didn't you? You killed Dawn, you bastard. He says, no, of course not. I would never hurt her. She what? What is it? Nothing. I can't. Oh my God, this is freaking annoying. And then he tells them Dawn isn't dead. And then this is where it all comes out, where he's like, all this stuff, you know, in your friend Amelia, I'll tell you who she was. She was my sister, and she was Dawn's best friend. Not that you ever even thought of her as a person. Amelia was, my sister is dead because of you, and you just moved on like she meant nothing to you, like she was nothing. Worse, you're using her to promote yourself. How could you? Are you really that heartless? I'm trying to raise money for charity. Yeah, whatever. You're just doing it because of the attention. It helps promote the company. I get it. You used her back then and you're using her now. I was 17 years old. Yes, I was awful to Amelia, but I was a kid. She was a girl I knew in high school. I was mean to her. I know I was. Mean to her? You drove her to... My baby sister's dead because of you. She reflects on this whole bullying thing. And she's like, what do you want me to do, Caleb? What can I do? I want you to rot in prison for the rest of your life like my little sister's rotting in the ground. So why are you here, Caleb? To tell me how much you hate me? Oh my God, what a bitch. Look, I hate you for what you did, but you need to know that this whole thing, Dawn planned the whole thing out. It was her idea, and she's taking it too far because you know Dawn, that's how she is. Clearly, he knows Dawn very well, much better than I could have imagined. And then Seth chimes in randomly, and he's like, of course it is. You sent an innocent person to jail. Caleb counters, right, but she doesn't think the charges will stick if there isn't a dead body, her dead body, not whoever they found in the woods. She kept talking about that, and I don't know where she is. She used my phone to call for a lift back to the South Shore, and I don't know where she went. She called me from a phone somewhere and left this disjointed message saying she was giving me all the instructions for how to take care of her turtle, and it sounded like she was going to, yeah, I'm pretty sure she's planning to make sure that there's a dead body. And they say, oh my God. And then Caleb starts crying. And then he's like begging them. I've been driving around for hours trying to find her. I don't know where she is. You owe this. You owe me this. You owe her. Sorry, this is serious. And then Natalie's like, we have to call the police. And he says, no, we can't do that. Do you know how much trouble she would be in? And they end up having this whole freaking thing about like, we're going to find her. We're going to find her. And the chapter ends with Natalie, I hope I'm right. I need to stop Dawn from ending her life. I need to make this right. So they all split up and they all go to different beaches to try to find Dawn. And she goes to the beach that she went to before when she had dumped out the turtle bits and pieces that she crushed. And she goes there. And she goes and she sees Dawn. Dawn is sitting at the end of the pier, like hunched over at the very end of the dock. In chapter 59, we are in Dawn's perspective. And she believes that the best part of her life is over. And she just wants to make sure that like her death counts for something. I borrowed a small cinder block from a construction site nearby, the smallest one I could find. And then she used money from Caleb's wallet that she had taken to do some stuff. And she's going to like drown herself, okay? And then all of a sudden she hears Natalie running to the end of the pier yelling after her. Natalie, what is she doing here? She sticks up her hands in the air like I've got a gun. If only. If I had a gun right now, she would be dead and there would be no witnesses. I thought about that. I considered a simpler plan, kill Natalie. Then I wouldn't have to fake my own death and go on the run. Except death is too easy for her. I wanted her to suffer the way I have suffered. The way Mia did before she decided to end it all. Natalie's begging her to not jump, and she's like, how did you find me here? Caleb told me what was going on, and then she feels super, super angry and betrayed about this. And then they have their whole back and forth, where she's yelling at her about killing her friend, and Natalie is continuously apologizing and saying how she feels terrible about it. Like, why do you think I started this charity run? I'm trying to make it up to her. And she says, look, I know everything. Seth does too. If you jump, it won't do any good. You can't frame me for murder anymore. It's the first thing she said that's gotten through to me. She's right. If Caleb blabbed about our plan, she'll never go to prison for this. He has ruined everything we worked for. How could he do this to me? He couldn't possibly love me if he would betray me this way. Natalie knows who I am now. She's ready for me. I had a chance to get revenge and Caleb blew it. I wanted to make Natalie pay for what she did to Mia, but it's not going to happen. There's only one way left to make her pay. I have to kill her. Caleb would never let me do it, but he's not here right now. He can't stop me. I have to end this right here, right now. Natalie's perspective. Dawn picks up the cinder block and accuses Natalie of killing her friend and stealing the man that she loves. Natalie's like, Dawn, Caleb was the one who asked me out. I thought he was single for God's sake. I loved him. He was the last good thing in my life, the only good, and you took him from me. And now he likes you better. And Dawn is like holding the cinder block over Natalie and she thinks that she's about to end her life. So Natalie reaches into her purse really quickly and she has bear mace. Obviously, sprays this in Dawn's face. She collapses to the pier and so she's like crying on the pier. And then now that Natalie is able to talk a little bit more openly. She's like, Caleb loves you. He cried over you. When he came and told me that you were missing, he cried. And Dawn looks up and she's like, really? He cried? Yeah, he really loves you. Like, he really does. Wow, he didn't even cry for Mia. She doesn't say anything else. Neither do I. She starts working on the knot, attempting to untie it. Like the cord that was tied, the cinder block tied to her ankle. She begins undoing it. She doesn't say anything else, neither do I. We just sit together, watching the tide come in, both of us glad it's not pulling us into the clutches as we realize how close each of us has come to suffering that fate tonight. In chapter 61, Natalie gets a text message, multiple text messages from Seth and Caleb, and she texts them and lets them know that she found Dawn, but doesn't give the exact location. I'm not even entirely sure how to describe where we are. So she tells Dawn that they're looking for them, and she frowns. What happens next? It's a great question. The first thing I would like to do is march Dawn right back to the police station so Santoro can see that she's alive, but I'm not a cold-blooded murderer who bullied my coworker and killed her when she discovered I was allegedly stealing money. What? I'm not a cold-blooded murderer. Okay. I want to hear him tell me that all the charges have been dropped. Unless he plans to pin the murder of a stranger on me, frankly, I wouldn't put anything past him. So then eventually they decide to text Caleb and Seth their location. They get back to the main road. They're going to meet, I guess, at this restaurant thing. And the boys show up and they're so happy to see the girls. And Natalie, she's like, oh my God, Seth drove here. He bailed me out of jail. He drove me to Rhode Island. He was going to foot the bill for a lawyer if it came to that. I may have underestimated him. Ugh. Oh, shit. So in the middle of them having their little happy reunion. Oh my God, hold on. Oh wow. So finally, so the guys are there. She's having her moment realizing she loves Seth or whatever. Caleb and Dawn are making out. I don't know. 4 of them standing here. And then Seth's like, yeah, they discovered the identity of the body that got found, that woman. Yeah, I bet Santoro is going to get a lot of shit for arresting you for the murder of somebody who turned out to still be alive. They should have waited for the DNA to come back. They really jumped the gun. Yes, Santoro should have waited, but he was too eager to nail me, all because he got bullied as a kid. So who was the woman in the town over? Whatever, the town where she lives. He lifts his shoulder. Some woman, Kara? He cocks his head thoughtfully. No, Tara, I think. Nobody we know anyway. Tara? No, it couldn't be. My hands are shaking slightly as I reach into my purse and pull out my phone. I bring up a search engine to look up the news stories about the identity of the body. It's breaking news. The name comes up instantly. Tara Wilkes, my old best friend from high school, the one who sat with me writing fake Valentines to Amelia Hodge all those years ago. Right, yeah, Tara Wilkes, that was it. My eyes dart over to Caleb's face. He heard me say the name Tara Wilkes just now, but he didn't react. There's not even a flicker of recognition. The name means nothing to him. But when my eyes reach Dawn's, I see something completely different. The girl found in the woods was not a coincidence. All those years, Dawn hated me for being the mastermind, but she hated Tara too for the part that she played in Amelia's death. Death was too good for me, but it wasn't too good for Tara. Oh God. That poor woman, Seth is saying. They were saying on the radio that the reason they thought it was Dawn was that her hair was all hacked off and her face was beaten badly. She was unrecognizable. Oh geez, that's awful, Caleb says. Dawn's eyes stay on mine. Yeah, awful. A chill goes down my spine that has nothing to do with the sub-freezing temperature. Dawn wanted more than anything to get revenge on the people she felt were responsible for Amelia's death. She was willing to do anything. She was willing to take her own life. She was willing to kill. She's a very dangerous woman, and nobody knows but me. The epilogue. 1 year later. Dawn and Natalie are coordinating the 5K, the charity together to raise money for cerebral palsy. And now Dawn and Caleb are doing the run together in memory of Mia. And she's accepted that Caleb loves her and they're all moved in together. And Caleb still doesn't know that she's the one that killed Tara. And Natalie decided to keep it a secret. And she tells the cops that the reason she went missing or whatever for so many days is because that large turtle figurine the size of the basketball, it fell on her head and she was concussed. And that's all. And so then they just closed the case and left it be. And Natalie is watching Caleb kiss Dawn yet again. They really do make a nice couple, and I'm glad Dawn came to her senses that night and didn't jump in the water. It's amazing how close that little mouse came to taking me down. She's craftier than I gave her credit for. She and I have an unspoken agreement now. I keep my mouth shut about Tara, and she keeps her mouth shut about all the money she knows I embezzled from Vix. What the fuck do you mean? After all, Seth might be careless, but she isn't. I knew the second I got that email from her asking to speak with me after work that she knew what I had done, a matter of great importance. That was why I was so desperate to speak with her, so desperate that I went to her house looking for her the next afternoon, which is where I discovered Dawn had vanished and there was all that blood on the carpet. She wanted me to get caught for embezzlement. She wanted that to be my motive for killing her. But now I know one of her secrets too, and we'll keep each other's secrets to the grave. Dawn may be dangerous, but so am I. I thought Seth said that the accounts were okay. I thought he apologized and then said that the accounts were okay. Did that not happen? Yeah. Yeah, so I checked through all the accounts and there was no money missing. Yeah, wait, I read that to you. We didn't need the embezzlement part. I mean, I guess there would have had to have been embezzlement for her to have something over Natalie's head, I guess, for them to keep each other's. And then Dawn, all of the ways that like she talked and handled things in part 1 and we got like the interpretations of her was not at all how she talked or reacted to things in part 2. Part 2 was like, I could not differentiate the voices between Dawn and Natalie, where I'm like, if you're going to paint Dawn out to be a certain way and have all of these traits, then like, why would that not be reflective when we're in her perspective? And like, I knew it. I knew there would be some girl boss justification of murder. And I knew that the person from the past would actually be somebody relevant to the future now or something. I guess, I don't know. I am, I think, more upset about this one than I ever have of any of the other books. I don't even have any coherent thoughts. Hopefully by the time I'm done editing this video, I might add a blurb here of me having more cohesive things to say. On that note, I am gonna go and get some dinner instead and start editing and whatnot. So leave comments down below what you're thinking, what your thoughts are, how you feel about this book compared to her other books, just thoughts in general. I don't even know where to begin on any of it. This was a lot, in like a bad way, a lot, you know? Okay, anyway, thanks for watching. Like I said, I appreciate you guys so much. You guys are all absolutely phenomenal, and I will see you guys next week. I have a surprise for you on Monday that I'm not telling anybody about, and then on Thursday, I think the book that's winning currently is We Used to Live Here, the actually good scary book. So hopefully next week we're doing a good one. And then there's a couple of other things I have on the docket coming up that I'm very excited for you guys to see. So look forward to all of that. Thank you guys again so much for everything. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.